Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, we're going to look at a Start Collecting box, or rather, we're going to look at the new Battle Force boxes that have just come out for Christmas. Each year, Games Workshop releases these Battle Force boxes, and they're a great way to get a brand new start on a new army, getting a bunch of models at a generally quite heavily discounted value. Now, this year we've got a bunch of them, and one of those such boxes is the Vanari Shining Host box for the Lumineth Realm Lords. Today we're going to be looking at how this box set can help you get started building up your own Lumineth Realm Lords army. And so what we're going to do in the video, first of all, we're going to go through, we'll talk about exactly what we get with a Lumineth Realm Lords army. We'll then go look at the units in the box and a couple of things we may need to add to it to give us the complete army. And get us up to a decent size point value, generally 1,000 points in this case. And then at the end, we'll show you that little 1,000 point sample army list you can have with this and not very much else put together to get you a fantastic starting force for your Lumineth Realm Lords. So for starters, what exactly do we get being Lumineth Realm Lords? Well, first of all, especially with this box, we get a ton of wizards. So a bunch of our heroes, including the hero you can see in the center of this, along with other Sigmar style heroes, and many of our Vanari units, including both the Wardens and the Dawn Riders in this box set, are all wizards. So not only do we have good hero wizards, we also have units that are wizards as well. This just gives us a ton of magical potential across the entire army. What's more is Lumineth Realm Lords have a wide range of units within their roster. This box set features no less than 6 different units, and this is but a fraction of the amount of units Lumineth Realm Lords can call upon in battle. You've got a great range of units, and this gives you some good range damage units in the form of the Starshard Ballista in this box set, or Vanari Aurelin Sentinels, another fantastic choice. And you also get good defensive benefits with a lot of these units as well, giving you a really fun and interesting playstyle where you can play that sort of mixed arms army really well. Lumineth Realm Lords do work well with decent combat troops, decent shooting troops, and cavalry and wizards and all that all mixed together, giving you this army that can do pretty much anything it wants to. Of course, there are certain builds of Lumineth Realm Lords you can use to really hammer in on one of the things the army gets in, I guess, plentiful supply, such as you could have plenty of Sentinels and Starshard Ballistas to really go with that heavy shooting force, or you could take someone like Teclis, the god himself, and some other strong wizards to really hammer down in that magic phase. Lumineth Realm Lords give you a variety of different options and variety of different ways to play, which makes them a really fun and interesting army. But what exactly is in the box? So we'll look at exactly what's in the box first, and then we'll talk about what we can add to this to get us up to a decent points value. So for starters, the first hero you can see here on the weird llama, cow, horse thing is the Vanari Lord Regent. Now this can also be built as a named character variation, however I do recommend building the generic Vanari Lord Regent with this box set. There's a ton more uses across the army and swap sub-factions as you choose, rather than the current named character version that's also inside this box set only restricts you to a single sub-faction, or at least only getting the rules of a single sub-faction. What makes him really cool is his own spell. He has a powered up spell of the one that a lot of our basic sort of troops have, which is the Power of Haish. He's got an empowered version of it, and normally Power of Haish allows your mortal wounds on many of your units to activate on 5s instead of 6s to hit. His allows him to pick D3 units around him, so this can be great, allowing him to use this spell, and then allowing your other units to use other spells that can benefit them, so doubling down and just getting more out of your other units. We then have a Vanari Bannerblade. He's great at just bolstering your lines, giving an extra bit of leadership out and bravery out here and there. Really useful because Lumineth Realm Lords, despite being elves, do not have the greatest of bravery, and when you start using things like your Aether Quartz, you'll actually find your bravery depletes even more, so having something like a Bannerblade in your lines can actually be really good. He also has some cool abilities when he gets in combat. He actually provides more of a bravery buff to your units around him as they sort of see the banner flying high in the thick of combat and get a little bit more invigorated by that. But you've got two decently solid heroes that really do help cover your bases or enhance the abilities of your other units. Speaking of units, the first one we have here is Vanari Aurelin Wardens. These are our pikemen. So they're a solid defensive unit. They get a ton of benefits like extra rend when they get charged, so they're a great sort of anvil to have your opponent throw themselves upon, and they can also do mortal wounds back. The 3-inch reach on their pikes means they work well in really large units because a lot of the models, even with those 32mm bases, are going to be able to get into the combat and fight. And then I mentioned they're a great anvil. Well, this is where Dawn Riders come in as a fantastic sort of hammer force that really work well against enemy hordes. For me, Dawn Riders are the epitome of what a good cavalry unit should be. They've got a ton of cool rules that make them extremely good against low wound count models in large numbers. They get extra attacks, which is really, really cool. They've also got their ability to cast magic, much like the Vanari Aurelin Wardens that came before, and they've also got the ability to have power of Haish, get those mortal wounds off. Next, we have the Vanari Blade Lords. This is a unit that actually sticks around your characters and defends them, sort of like a bodyguard unit. They're especially cool when you have Scenarii in your army. We don't have any in this box set or in the army we're going to look at, but they work well with them and they become battle line for every Scenarii hero you get a unit of Blade Lords as battle line. They've got some cool fighting profiles where they have two different weapons. They either have this perfect strike, that's sort of one high-powered killing blow, or they have this flurry of blows where they do a ranged sort of attack. They get an amount of attacks equal to the amount of models within range of their weapons. Lastly, we have the Vanari Star Shard Ballista. The Star Shard Ballista is a pretty long-ranged artillery piece that has a decent amount of damage attached to it. What's great though is just its range. It's able to pick across targets or fire across the battlefield and do a good bit of damage with its range. Now, this here almost hits us up to a fantastic starting 1,000 points, and we'll get to that list in just a second. However, one unit you probably want to add to it is a unit of Vanari Aurelin Sentinels. Now, you've got about 180-ish points to play around with, so you could definitely add whichever unit that really fits in this. You could have something like Hurricane Wind Chargers, you could have a unit of Alara Stone Guard, you could add in another unit of Wardens or Dawn Riders, or potentially even another character at 1,000 points as well. The options for this extra unit really are limitless. However, I do think that Sentinels just give you that extra bit of range firepower and the extra shots over the Star Shard Ballista. They're going to allow you to hit more mortal wounds because they also get the power of Haish on their ranged weapons, much like the Dawn Riders and Wardens get them in combat. They're going to allow you to sort of put mortal wounds on heavily armoured opponents' inventory. The last thing you probably want to pick up is the Shrine Luminor. This is the Lumineth Realm Lord's terrain piece, and it's got some cool abilities. It can potentially hand out some free command points, it can do a bunch of other cool things as well, and it's garrisonable by one of your heroes, which is really nice. But definitely a Shrine Luminor is part of your Allegiance village, you get it for free on the table, so why not go pick it up alongside the rest of the Lumineth Realm Lords force you're picking up already. But here we have a little sample army list for you. So we're going to be playing in a nation called Sire. So I think this is a fantastic, great nation to pick when you're first learning the army. This gives you extra of your Aether Quartz to all your units, and what this can do when you're learning to play the army is just show you how you can use it, and it gets you the ability to sort of double down and not potentially use it at the wrong time. It allows you to learn when to use this mechanic. It's important that you don't sort of, I guess, when playing this, go too deep into it and start spending that first sort of Aether Quartz willy-nilly. It's important that you memorize and you sort of start to think, oh, well, when am I using this when I can? And it's when you start to end the games with a piece of Aether Quartz left because you haven't used it on some of your units, you can start to think, I reckon, about playing some of the other sub-factions and really making better use of your Aether Quartz allegiance ability. Now we've gone for the Grand Strategy Prize Sorcery here. It's a fantastic grand strategy for Lumineth Realm Lords. We've got a ton of wizards in the army here, so why not pick it? We've then got Triumph Indomitable. This is actually a automatic pass for a Battle Shock test. I mentioned that Lumineth don't have the greatest bravery. I actually feel this is the best one to take for your Triumph with this army. Now our Lord Regent, he's going to be our general, and he's going to have the command trait Goading Arrogance, which allows him to sort of goad an enemy into fighting him. This is the one we have to take due to being Sire. It's not the greatest, but he's going to have the Protection of Haish spell, which is a ranged radius ward save granting spell, which is pretty cool. And then the Banner Blade, he's going to have the Perfect Blade because he's going to be the one potentially getting in combat to give that extra bravery sort of buff. And then for Battle Line, we've got 10 Vanari Aurelin Wardens with Speed of Haish. This gives them double move. Now, Battle line here, it's got the Dawn Riders. They've also got Speed of High-ish for a double move on them, which is fantastic. Gives them something like a 28-inch movement. However, you could easily have your Sentinels here. It's really up to you which one you want to be the battle line in this army. It does matter in some of the scenarios which unit you make as your battle line. I think Dawn Riders really work well as that battle line unit. They're harder to kill than Sentinels, and also they've got that movement to potentially go complete some objectives in your opponent's half of the table. In some scenarios, that's really important. We've then got our 5 Vanari Blade Lords that will, of course, probably be protecting our Banner Blade. Then we've got 10 Vanari Aurelin Sentinels with the spell Lemon Light. This gives them some bonuses to their shooting profiles. Then we've got a Starsharp Ballista in there as well. The whole force here is wrapped up into a battle regiment, meaning it's a 1-drop army at 965 points. It's likely we are going to get that triumph. You could probably try and fit in the spell in here. It's not the worst thing to do with Lumineth Realmlord's army because you've got access to a ton of wizards with good ability to cast. No reinforced units and no allies at 56 wounds, and as mentioned, a 1-drop army thanks to the battle regiment. If you're thinking of picking up this box, let us know what you're thinking of doing with it. I hope this video has been helpful. Let us know in the comments below what you're going to be doing with this box set if you are going to pick it up for your Lumineth Realm Lords. Well, that's the end of the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, drop us a comment in the video and let us know what you enjoyed about it as well. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fun community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the description of the video to our Discord server. You can come chat with me and other members. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so either by joining Patreon or YouTube members linked in the video's description, or by getting some merch from Teespring, also linked in the video's description. We'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel on Patreon and YouTube members. So a special shout out to our Patreons: Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Alderon Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Adina226, Anton Nielsen, JJ Austrian, and Average Wargamer. And a shout out to our YouTube members as well: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeot, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, and Wolfric Nick. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does the amazing artwork you see on the channel. Everything here is done by her. She does an amazing job, so thank you very much. And lastly, a special shout out to Xmorphic, who does all the background work on the Discord server, keeps it running smoothly, and makes it amazing because I am terrible with computers. So thank you, Xmorphic, as well. That's it for today, though, folks. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.